So moving on, PlayStation. Now, this is
Sorry, start over.
so moving on, PlayStation. Now this is the one that I'm actually most excited to talk about because, as we said earlier, with Microsoft, kind of what they got to show us something to excite us. Nintendo is just doing great. Sony, for me, is the interesting one because they've already pre-announced they're only going to focus on their 4 core games that they have coming out, which, forgive me because I can't remember, I'll probably just splash it on the screen here. But I know it's going to be the weird-ass Kojima game, Death Stranding, where
God,
I don't even
trailer, it's so weird.
I don't even think he knows what it's going to be yet.
Yeah, I don't even think he'd be able to explain it.
There's that one. Of course, we've got Spider-Man coming out.
Right, looks awesome.
And you have Days Gone, which is their open world zombie game.
Right.
They have what is it? They did Siphon Filter back in the PS1 days.
Mm-hmm.
That studio is doing this, and I know they have Detroit Human coming out at the end of this month, but I don't think that's going to be at their E3. There's another game, and I can't remember what it is, but there's 4 games, and they said that's going to be their main focus.
Mm-hmm.
So it's essentially focusing on Spider-Man, which is coming out at the end of this year. They also said multiplats too.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get a Destiny and your Call of Duty, and all those people are going to come on stage and announce the exclusive map pack you're going to have for 1 month before PC and Xbox get it. Exciting. So that's what's gonna, that's what they have working on. They haven't announced any hardware or anything like that. I think we're gonna get some VR too, showing some more VR stuff. I think they did an excellent job last year on at least showing, hey, everyone who's bought our VR headset, here's what we have coming out for you. But as we said last year, you can't really get excited for it or jump on the bandwagon without actually having the headset on and experiencing it. But kudos to them for at least showing, hey, we're working on games for you.
They need to work on outreach for the VR.
Yeah.
Like when they released PlayStation Move, you could go to Best Buy and try it, and nobody bought it, but you could still at least go try it. They should have more outreach to get people to try it before they buy it, instead of just taking people's words for it.
Yeah. And here is my big prediction for PlayStation. Drum roll. This is the swan song for the PS4. This is it. These 4 games that they're focusing on. This is it. They're showing, because Spider-Man's coming out at the end of this year, and then I finally remembered Last of Us 2, or Part 2. That's the other big one that they're focusing on. Forgive me, I forgot. So you have Spider-Man coming out at the end of this year. Days Gone is definitely going to come out next year, and maybe even Last of Us 2, and then we don't know when weird-ass Kojima Death Stranding game's coming out.
I keep thinking you're gonna say Weird Al.
Weird Al. That would be a game I would buy.
Polka Party? Yeah, that would be awesome.
But no, those games will probably come out 2020. It'll probably be a cross-generation. And I think Last of Us 2 will also be a cross-generation.
So you're predicting right now that they're going to announce a PS5?
No.
E3?
No, not this year. No. I think what we're going to get is they're going to focus on these games. The reason they're focusing on these games is because this is it. This is the end. This is the swan song for the PS4. And next year, you're probably going to get maybe a teaser for the PS5. But 2020, my prediction is there will be the full rollout. Here's the PS5. It's coming out this fall. So the next year and a half is just going to be focused on these 4 games. Here are these 4 games. These are our best. This is going to be the best you're going to get. This is our top, tier stuff, and they're going to close out the generation strong, and then the PS5 is going to come up. And Sony always does this. I don't know if anyone's ever noticed. They begin a generation with no games at all, and they end it with all of their exclusives at the tail end. So it kind of not a whole lot of, maybe 1 or 2 exclusives at the beginning of a console, and then a little bit here, a little bit there. And then as the console is coming to an end, that's when stuff just starts dropping.
And then they do 6 months of dual releases, and then they taper off the old generation stuff.
Yeah. So I think that's what's going to happen, and I think that's why they've said we're only going to focus on this. And at that time, it'll be time for, I think, a PS5, because if you come out with a PS5 now, or even in 2019, it's going to be, at best, a little bit more powerful than the X. It's not going to be a huge leap. And I think at that time,
So
No
what's the point? I
What?
mean, like we've talked about this before, coming to parity of the point where the hardware is so similar or such on such the same level that we hit this wall of either charge $1,000 for the console or have a console that's less powerful or the same power as your competitor. We've talked about having that console has to have a feature or some type of gimmick that's not on. Do you think the
VR?
PS5 will have that, like baked in VR or something?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be. I forgot about that. Yeah, I think PlayStation 5 is going to have the same thing that the Xbox One had. Remember, the Kinect came out and it was just a accessory you could buy for it. It was an add-on. I think this time around they're going to go all in.
So they're
And
going
it's
to pull
gonna
an
be
Xbox
packaged
One,
with
it's going
it.
to packaged with it, but then that might be a mistake, just the way the Xbox One was a mistake.
Possibly.
Because you run into someone and say, okay, well, why am I paying $700 for this console with a VR headset that I'm not going to use?
Who knows? Maybe they'll be smart and they'll be like, hey, you can just buy the base PS5 and it's just the console, or you can buy the bundle that comes with the VR. But I think they've done too much with VR to just drop it and not do anything with it. Don't you agree? Like,
yeah, I think it's been a moderate success for them.
Yeah, and I think they've invested too much into it to just drop it, and then the PS5 comes out and it's just that.
Wireless? PS5 supports a wireless PlayStation VR?
I think so. I think and that would greatly, enhance the experience, especially for people who don't want like a wire, or wrapping around their neck.
Avatar style.
Yeah. So I think that would be good. I think it'll still take discs, but they're definitely going to be moving. They've already announced. Remember that DRM bullshit that Xbox did?
Yes.
Sony's doing that now. They're like talking about DRM and putting that in place and all that. So I think there's a possibility the PS5 could repeat the mistakes the Xbox One did.
The Xbox One was ahead of its time, though. I think some of those ideas that they originally had, like the game sharing and the DRM copyright, thing.
Yeah.
That was their attempt to push second-party games out of the market, to kill the EB Games and the GameStops of the world, basically. But now they really were ahead of their time, because now we have Steam and digital titles, and it counts for at least it's got to be half the market share.
I do find it funny that we all shat on. I even did it. I was not going to get an Xbox One when it first came out because I was like, I can't share my games, and we all shat on all these different features. It's now things that we want and that we like with this. So I think you're right. I think the Xbox One was kind of ahead of its time on what they
predicted, things that eventually came to pass, but they changed because of the blowback. They should have pulled an Apple. They should have doubled down and told people, no, you'll understand in 2 years.
But then they caved to the pressures of us fans who are like going, well, I want it to be like my PS4 is over here.
Yeah, that's why the iPhone 8 didn't have a headphone jack, and why the iPhone 10 does not have a headphone jack, and that's why no iPhone ever released from this point on will have a headphone jack.
So
they predicted the future, and they're forcing the future. Xbox should have stuck to their guns, but it looks like PlayStation might capitalize on it.
Yeah, they might, and it could be a success, or who knows, it could be a failure. But I don't think, because a lot of people were predicting 2018 or 2019. I think a lot of it was fanboys because they were because the beginning of the generation, anyone who was super on board and a big fan of the PS4 touted, oh, you don't need exclusives. It's about the console that plays the multiplats. Mm-hmm. It's not about exclusives. It's about the console that's the most powerful, and everyone buys just multiplats. And then the Xbox One X came around, and suddenly it's like outpacing the PS4 Pro, and definitely outpacing the original PS4. Mm-hmm. And now the Xbox One X is the best place to play multiplats. You're going to get the best performance. You're going to get the best graphics. All of that. So now they've flipped the conversation to where it's now about exclusives.
Right.
And they were also sitting there putting, we're probably getting the PS5 in 2018 then, or 2019. And it would make no sense for Sony to do that. For one, the Pro is still relatively young. And for two, you're going to be on par, maybe slightly stronger than your competition.
Right.
So I think that 2020 window is perfect because at that time, the chipsets will be cheap enough. 4K TVs with HDR will be really out there on the market and even in people's households. So I think I think that's that's my prediction for it. That's why we're getting these 4 games. Focus on these titles, either the big titles for the next 2 years that we're going to be working on,
Right.
and we're just going to go out with a blast with the PS4, and then the PS5 will then take over at the end of 2020. So that's my predictions. Any predictions for you on them?
For this E3, maybe they'll announce some partnerships. Maybe they'll announce some new games and stuff for the VR, like you said. I'd like to see some more accessories for PlayStation VR. Maybe some external tracking sort of hardware to make the experience more like a Vive. But it's low tier VR, at least from what I understand. And the VR market is still pretty much concentrated in the PC realm.
Yeah.
A lot of those high-powered, Oculus is coming out with a new mobile-based wireless VR headset that's supposed to be pretty awesome. So I would see them announcing some type of expansion in that universe. But there's nothing else that I'm thinking of that might blow my mind this year.
Yeah.
They're definitely not going to announce the PS5.
Yeah, they're not going to announce the PS5. And I do think it's just going to be, here's our exclusives, and they're going to let the multi-plat, like they're going to let the Call of Duty's Red Dead Redemption 2 also has a marketing deal with Sony. So they're going to do a lot of that. So you're going to watch their show. I hope they're more excited this year. That's their problem, is they're just kind of relaxed. And I think that's another reason why I think the PS5 is definitely coming in 2020, because no one's talking about it, but the Switch and to a lesser extent the Xbox One X are slowly eating away at the PS4's market share. You can't deny it, because if you look at the growth of console sales, the Xbox One and even the PS4 are plateauing.
Right.
And the Switch is just, it's growing really fast, and if you look between the Pro and the Xbox One X, the X is the one that's selling better because it's the more powerful hardware. So people who are looking into 4K gaming, they're looking at the one that really actually can do it, better than what the PS4 Pro can do. So I think by that point, I think Sony's going to rest on their laurels, and by 2020 is when they're going to be like, all right, here's our true 4K device.
Right.